Hi everyone, Ryan here, Ion Capital Solutions. Hope you're doing well and thanks for tuning in. Today I want to talk to you about 8 things I wish I knew before I became a loan broker. Now, keep in mind that this is tailored a little bit to suit your needs, people from home trying this for the first time without working in the industry. I worked in the industry, so I worked for lenders for years. I was privy to a lot of information that most people are not, and that greatly assisted me in my journey in getting myself set up. Okay. But these were things that I knew new employees did not understand. These were things I know that people trying this online were not able to understand. And some of these things even stumped me even after working in the industry, working for lenders. So these will be very helpful hints for you, anybody starting out, anybody who's currently doing this but struggling. You're going to want to see this video. Anyway, stick around. It's going to be a good one. Okay, so let's talk about the first thing I wish I knew before I became a loan broker. Okay, not all lenders will accept me as a partner. Now, I had it really good because I worked for direct lending firms. And whether you realize it or not, direct lending firms are also brokerages. They farm out the deals that they don't want to take risk on to other lenders to see if those other lenders will take the deal. So every lender is a brokerage. And when you're a direct lender and you have high submission volume, you can sign up with any lender out there. They're not going to deny you. But when you're an independent trying to do this on your own without a proven brand, a new EIN, whatever it may be, they're not going to accept you as a partner because you're not going to have high enough submission volume. You're probably going to submit bad data, something we're going to talk about here. And they don't want to waste time sifting through bad files because you don't know what you're doing, right? One of the first things I realized is, oh man, some of these lenders that I'm used to working with won't work with me as an independent. Buying leads doesn't mean there's a fundable deal in the batch. Now, my old firm, we used to spend around $25,000, $30,000 a month on leads to feed the floor. When I was an independent on my own, I tried, $1,000, $2,000, $4,000, $5,000. It took around $6,000 a month on average for me to have enough data there to fund enough deals to where I was earning a decent profit. That's a lot of money up front. There's no guarantee that there's a fundable deal in there. And if you don't know what you're doing and how to find a fundable deal versus just a complete and utter waste of time, you very quickly find yourself in a deep, deep hole, right? By the way, there's a better way. You don't need to spend a penny on leads. You do not need to buy live transfer leads, age data, whether it's 30, 60, 90 days old. That's all crap. You don't want any of that. You don't need to pay for advertising. You can have a nice, fat, full funnel for free. You just need to understand multi-platform marketing, something we can teach you here at Ion. But anyway, clients are skeptical of independent brokers. Now, this is important. When you talk to a client, they don't know you, they don't know your brand, and they're going to immediately compare you to everybody else they ever spoke to. How do you stack up? Do you have reviews online, Better Business Bureau? What does your website look like? What does your logo look like? Are you going to now spend time building a website, building a funnel, and getting established online and creating all these reviews and blah, blah, blah? You know how much time that takes? On top of building a business model. Do you even know what a successful business model looks like? Are you just going to guess at it? You're going to buy from one of these dime a dozen blueprint programs who are going to share with you a map to success, which flat out doesn't work. It just does not work like that. I'm sorry. Anybody who tells you that you can create a website, sign up with a lender, run an ad, find interested parties who want money, forward their documents to a lender, and you're a loan broker is lying to you. That's like me walking up to you and trying to hand you a bag of surgical equipment and saying that, hey, just go rent a space. Here's some surgical tools. Congratulations, you're a brain surgeon. Go start cutting people open. It just doesn't. It's ridiculous when you really think about it. It doesn't work that way, okay? So with that being said, rather than try and do this on your own and try and build a business model from scratch without experience, you need to be active in the space with people who are already achieving the results you want. Tony Robbins once said, okay, if you want to achieve success, go find somebody achieving the results you want, copy what they do, and you'll get the same results. No brainer, right? Don't build a business. You need to work with a mentor. You need to plug into an active working model. You need to learn the business. I'm not saying take a job working for a lender. And here at ION, we share industry secrets. You can plug in, it's expedited anyway. That's another video. But you do not want to try and just figure it out for yourself. I'm sorry. There's a lot of people out there frustrated trying to do just that. I know they joined my program. But anyway, let's talk about some other items here, okay? There are better products than the ones I'm offering. Now, this was a wake-up call even for me because I was offering a lot of products. I thought at the time, right, selling a cash advance, knowing how to sell higher tier cash advances, meaning clients with better credit, better cash flow could get a lower interest rate, a longer term, the weekly instead of the daily, or even some were willing to give a monthly, whatever it is. That's a horrible product. It's not a good product. 55% interest rate is insane. But when you push that kind of product, it's between 40 and 55% often enough. When you see an offer that's 35% or 30% or 25%, you think that's a great offer. It's not. It's way too expensive. When you think about, equipment financing, you do that a few times, but you realize it's actually kind of hard to get those deals through if you don't know what you're doing. You talk about asset-based lending where you try and offer an asset, something we're going to talk about in a minute, and all of a sudden the lender's not interested in that asset as collateral and you can't figure out why. You're offering the wrong types of products. You don't understand how it actually works. You're not able to help clients. You don't even understand their needs to some degree, right? I mean, stop and think about if you want to help a certain type of business, but they don't have, for instance, if you try and give a seasonal business a cash advance, you can't do that. They don't have consistent cash flow to afford a repayment schedule. Those schedules are over 3 months, 10 months, whatever it may be, with a daily, a weekly payment. If they're seasonal, they can't afford that payment. It doesn't work like that. If you have a business that has significant equity in real estate, they're not interested in a loan, a term loan, a cash advance. They're just going to eject cash out of equity at a very low interest rate. That's how they raise capital. And yet you're trying to figure out why that construction group won't work with you or take a loan from you, or that realty company or whatever it may be, right? Anyway, there's better products out there, and you've got to understand what you're up against, and you've got to have the right tools in your utility belt to be able to go to market and compete. My files keep getting declined by the lender. Now, this is the biggest problem. If you do not know how to qualify your clients, if you don't know how to analyze their financials, calculate affordability, understand the difference between revenue, wires, deposits, know how to read a corresponding balance sheet, deposits, a profit and loss statement with corresponding balance sheet, tax returns, whatever it is, then you don't stand a chance because you don't understand the difference between a good deal and a bad deal. If you don't know how to qualify assets, understand the lender's resaleability of those assets in the case of the borrower's default, you don't understand the product you're offering. So how could you possibly understand whether or not you can help the client? Just because they say millions of dollars, you think it's a big deal? It's not how it works. You need to understand, right? And so you have to become an expert in qualification and the lender's underwriting process so you can perform these procedures yourself. So by the time you hand the file off to the lender, you're handing off a good file that's going to fund and you're going to make money. That's the truth. Anybody telling you anything different is lying to you. That's the reality of the situation, right? And to some degree, I had to figure this out the hard way. And remember, I had experience here. I had a good education in how this stuff works. What about the person who's just trying to figure this out for the first time? If you're not exposed to this information, you're going to really struggle. It's important that you learn. The lender isn't interested in using the client's assets as collateral. Understand this. Let's keep it simple here, okay? If let's say that you want me to give you a loan, but I don't trust you. I don't feel like you're going to pay me that money back, or your cash flow, right, it looks tight. I'm not confident. But you want to tie an asset to it as collateral. So in the case of default, I can then take that asset and go sell it and get my money back. And you say to me that you want to offer me your computer that cost you $1,000, right? And so I'm lending you $1,000. And if you don't pay it back, I can take that computer and I can sell it and get my money back. It comes down to how new is that computer? When was it built? What kind of material, what kind of video card is in there, processor, whatever it may be. And then is there a market for that equipment? Can I resell that equipment and get my money back? Is it even that valuable anymore? I need to appraise it, right? Think of that on a larger scale, right? If you want to offer, if you have oil drilling company that wants to offer its oil rigs as collateral, can the lender, even if it's millions of dollars worth of assets, can the lender acquire that asset, even know how to go about doing that? Is there a market for them to claim it and then resell it and get that money back? Who's going to do that? How are they going to get their money back? If not, the lender's just not interested because they're not confident that they could get their money back in the case of default. And the lender, all they care about is getting their money back. So the deal won't go through. What about vehicles, right? The lender's not interested in vehicles for the most part unless they're relatively new and there's a market for them, right? So they're going to want to see VIN numbers, make and model and year and all that. You have to understand this. Otherwise, you're going to talk to some car dealership that's going to try and send you a list of 30, 50, 100 cars or whatever and send you statements, and you're going to go back and forth with the lender, and you can't understand why this cash flowing business with all these assets can't get funded, and you think you have a good deal, and you don't realize that the lender just they don't like dealerships, they don't like the swings, they don't want to have to deal with the vehicles, they're not a dealership, they don't want to sell cars. It doesn't work like that. There's nuance here. You have to understand these things. If you don't understand these things, right? You see what I'm getting at? And so this was news to me. I had a lot of deals like that. I had one guy who was pulling gold out of the earth. He was sending me pictures of giant rocks of gold, and he wanted to utilize assets to get loans for millions of dollars. I thought it was the biggest deal I ever had. It went nowhere. The lenders weren't interested in anything the guy was offering. They're not interested in the equipment he had. How are they going to resell it? They don't want to deal with that. They wanted stable cash flow, and he didn't have it. He had assets, but he didn't have that, and they didn't like his assets. So there's lessons to be learned here, right? Costs are high, earnings are low, and I don't know what to do about it. That's what I was realizing when I had my own business up and running. I was, geez, this is between the leads and the marketing campaign and the website and the funnel and oh my gosh, it's all adding up, and it's eating so heavily into my profit. And I was experienced, so I was closing deals, but it was a very frustrating thing for me because my ROI was tight. I thought, man, if I could bring this model, this cost of operation down with a better model, I would earn so much more money. And later on, I learned just how to do that. But I wish I knew that ahead of time because I wasted so much money through trial and error, right? And really what I thought about, was I was kind of kicking myself in the butt saying, man, I had it good working for lenders. And I wish, maybe I didn't quit in hindsight, right? This is much harder than I thought it would be. Now, I don't regret leaving. And today I'm doing very well. I'm very happy to say that I am. And it was hard work, and I'm no rocket scientist. Anybody can do it. You just need to put enough time and experience in and be willing to roll with the punches and stick with it. But the point I'm trying to make is don't try and figure it out for yourself. Don't try and reinvent the wheel. Don't try and build a business. All these things are a waste of time and money, period. Focus on plugging into an active system, surrounding yourself with people who are successful, active in this field, achieving the results you want. Copy what they do and you'll get the same results. And that's exactly what we can do for you here at Ion, because the reality is you need help. You can't do this on your own. You can't. I'm sorry. Anybody telling you can't, it's just, maybe you'll find one or two deals, you get lucky, but it won't be a sustainable business model that you can focus on that'll bring you financial freedom and success and all the BS that you hear. Earn $10K a month from home and the journey of your life and the career you deserve. And if you hate your 9-to-5 boss, it's just a load of crap. Okay. You need to learn the business from professionals. You need to work in the business, accrue knowledge through experience, learn how to collect data at a cost-effective model, learn how to analyze that data to make informed decisions towards money. And then one day, if you stick with it, you'll make a bunch of money. You'll be very successful in this field. And that's the only way it'll happen. Anybody telling you any different is full of crap. Okay, so sorry to put it bluntly, but here on my channel and in general in my business dealings, I want to be upfront and honest with people. I really don't like the guys out there that are just, talking about sunshine and rainbows and unicorns and, how everything's going to be all right. And they're just preying on people who don't know any better. And it's not right. It's also really unhealthy for the economy to be putting a bunch of people out there selling high interest products to businesses, because you put businesses out of business that are, when they become over leveraged, which puts people out of jobs. People out of jobs can't afford to pay their mortgages. People who don't pay those mortgages default, they lose their homes, it wrecks the housing market. See what I'm getting at? Anyway, there's a better way. I'm getting off topic here. Thank you so much for tuning in. There's a lot of great content. I'm offering a lot of free training here on my channel. So even if you're not interested in signing up with Ion, there's a lot of free content here and value for you to develop your skills. I wish you the best of luck in your journey as a loan broker. I hope this video helped you identify some obstacles that you'll be going up against. There is content on this channel to help you as you deal with these obstacles and overcoming them. If you're interested in talking to me and learning more about our programs, all you have to do is ask. You can see my contact info in the description here, our website, ioncapitalsolutions.com, and the like. Anyway, thanks so much, everybody. I'll catch you in the next video.